So Marty, thank you so much. I'm jumping in because we have a little bit of a change up. I'm going to come back to our speakers or partnership spotlight. I want to introduce Dr. Erica LaCroix, who is the Vice President for Community Colleges at the University of Hawaii System, who's just going to talk for a minute about her partnership with ACCJC and the role of UH in our region. Erica.
Hi, aloha. So as Stephanie said, I'm Erica LaCroix. I'm the Vice President for the Community Colleges for the University of Hawaii System. I was asked to speak a little bit about my background and then also about the composition of the community colleges. So I started with the University of Hawaii almost 20 years ago after working in our hotel industry locally here. And when I started at UH Manoa, which is our four-year institution. The University of Hawaii is made up of 10 different campuses across the state. There are 7 independently accredited community colleges on the island of Oahu, Maui, Hawaii, and Kauai, with educational centers on some of the smaller islands and in regions where we have they're geographically separated. And that's where a lot of our distance learning happens. But we also have 3 four-year institutions, all independently accredited by our WASC Senior Commission. So that gives us a really great pathways model to build out different pathways, some in which are serving very particular islands and some that go throughout. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to work with our partners. So as we work on the competency-based education, we have to think about how that all fits in with our pathways too. And as we change in terms of our educational delivery, making sure that equates to making sense for students as they're going to transition through these pathways. So the University of Hawaii enrolls a little over 49,000 students, and our community colleges account for about 25,000 of those students. Each community college on Oahu has a very unique focus. So whether it's allied health, education, construction and trades, or even transfer colleges that really have been the unique cornerstone of working on those articulation and pathways that we have all now become very much on board with. And then for our neighbor islands, a lot of their focus is heavily serving their community needs because each community is a little bit different. And Hawaii is unique in the sense that you may have grown up on, I'll use Maui as an example, or Kauai, one of our neighbor islands, and you're a lot less likely to pick up and leave your family, even to come as close as Oahu. So we have to really think about the ways in which delivery works for all of the communities that we're in. Our collaboration with ACCJC really gives us a great opportunity to network with our peers outside of our state. We all have unique differences, but it's really an opportunity to participate in activities such as this. And once we're past COVID, the summits that we're able to have and all of those are really great opportunities from all of us to learn from each other. We have a Pacific Coast Educational Council, which our next speaker will likely be talking about if I have the order correctly. And that's a group that branches across all the Pacific Islands. So Hawaii and our Pacific Island partners, where we get to come together in a normal environment, face to face a couple times a year, really work through challenges, changes in delivery. What are we doing different? We all have very similar geographical challenges. So it's great to be able to learn from our partners. But I think the one thing we've really learned, given the whole COVID disruption, is that it's a moment to stop and reflect. And I'm sure many of you are seeing the same thing, but Hawaii's economy is predominantly driven by tourism. And so the dramatic decrease in tourism as we've shut down or have put quarantine in place is really dramatically affecting our state budget, which we are a state institution that is highly reliant on our general fund from the state. So it's a point in time where we have to pivot and think about all of the delivery methods that we have in place now, and do they really work? And do we need to retool ourselves to enable a more lean institution that has more flexible offerings? We realized through COVID, with all of the loss in jobs from the hotel industry, that we had to respond very quickly with non-credit programs. And those are programs that we want to see build up into a pathway into credit should people so choose to do so. So with some of our CARES funding through our state, we were able to launch an Oahu Back to Work program, which really focuses on the skill sets for jobs that we specifically see needs for right now that people can retool, and being able to make sure they can retool now, get back into another workforce, and then come back to us later should they decide, yes, this was a stop out from what I was doing, but I really like this career. And really aligning different careers to make sure that when we push people into other areas where we see openings or try to advise them of things that are coming available, that they have the right skill set. And some of this is all previous work they've done. Some of this is previous education that they've had, but being able to align those things. Another area we're working really hard on is our partnership with the Department of Education, because that pathway from leaving the Department of Education as a high school student and moving on into higher ed, we realized with COVID, when we pivoted in March, that was our key time to be engaging with those students. And putting together a Next Steps program that ran over the summer really helped ramp students' interest up in higher education. Most of these folks were people who hadn't decided yet what they were going to do, and the disruption was so bad that being able to reach out to them and provide career counseling along with some coursework, we were able to get almost 80% of those students enrolled in one of our 10 campuses. So it was very successful. So really thinking outside of the box of how we've always done things prior, and what parts of this change should become a structural change. So I'm working with our community colleges on really taking a more system approach, so I can make sure all of our communities have access to the programs we offer collectively, and not just it's available on this island because this college happens to offer it, but being able to be much more comprehensive in that approach, all the way through that pathways approach. So with that, Stephanie, that's about all I have. I'll pass it off to you.